Okay, let's start. And I will share a few words in general. Maybe there's some of you who are here for the first time. In psychology, there is a thing called collective unconscious. It's a term that appeared not so long ago, and this thing in the East has always been called a collective karma. And technically speaking, everything that's going on in the world right now and everything that's going to happen in the future is the result of that collective karma or collective unconscious. And maybe the collective unconscious sounds more clear to you. That's something that people are not aware of. And that collective karma consists of a large amount of certain energy, or a mixture of different types of energy, and a certain number of individual decisions. So each person makes decisions every day. What to do, what to eat, who to talk to, what to listen to, what book to read, or which movie to watch. But also every human makes a decision on a daily basis how to react to things, how to perceive things. And now imagine if, for example, how many people live on Earth? A few billion people. Half of those would react negatively to things. Would you think that it won't impact the world? There's no mysticism in this. That's a scientifically proven fact, and there's a lot of evidence based on research. For example, there is a term in quantum physics called quantum field. There's a lot of things happening in this field. How it arises, well, it doesn't appear because the energy does not appear or disappear, it just changes. And this quantum field is in a way energized by human intentions. And there's this thing called observer effect. Many of you know this, or you may look it up on the internet. There's a quantum gun, photon gun. It shoots photons, and the observer looks where those particles are flying to. He kind of expects those particles to fly in certain directions, and those particles will fly exactly where the observer wants them to. So like here, a lot of people who expect negative things that is happening, those going to happen in the world, and then they communicate a lot of people from Europe, from America, from around the world. Nearly everyone has a certain negative expectation. So that's the effect of the quantum field and so-called intentions. You understand what I mean? Is what's called self-fulfilling prophecy. So we are creating this in a way. Now, next thing is responsibility. Most people I know, what do I have to do with this? How can I affect things on the world? This has always been also been researched for over a decade. It affects everything, even weather, because nature is a single system. And again, there's no mysticism in this. This is also a scientifically proven fact. Whenever there is a negativity that is accumulated, there can lead to natural disasters like storms, earthquakes, or floods. Everything is connected. It's connected directly. And there's a huge amount of scientific evidence. And people think that the more they're negative, the more they defend their position about that they're right, the world would improve. But it's exactly the opposite. And what we haven't been told is a very important point that's been hidden from people about power. And this subject of power has been researched a lot, and there are people who have power. But in the ancient times, the power was treated neutrally. The only power that existed was so-called the spiritual power or divine power, and nothing has changed since. And every one of us, and again, I'm not talking about mystic things. These things have been written in ancient scriptures and confirmed by modern science like quantum physics. Each of us has a tremendous potential to influence huge number of things on events, and that's a scientifically proven fact. Question only is whether a person can hold his attention for a sufficiently long time. From where this intention comes from. Is it just emotions or desires or just thoughts? Or is he aware of himself as a oneness and from where he intends? So when there's a large number of people, well, there's a quantitative effect as opposed to qualitative effect. So there are people with different skills, so some people do better than the others, but the more people who intend, there's a multiplication effect. This is why it's needed. Now, going back to responsibility, many people do not care. They say, okay, well, there are people who decide over me. Who am I to do things? Who am I to influence on things? Again, it's been scientifically proven fact. It's just too many of us, and we are too scattered around. So whomever takes the responsibility have this learned helplessness from childhood. Well, that's wrong. That's not true. We influence on things on a fundamental level, whether we are aware of it or not. And that's exactly why in ancient traditions, a truly powerful practices, the energy work transferred after a very long period of preparations. It took 10 years, maybe more. People who realize that their energetic potential, they can change things just by way of thinking about it. That's the effect of a quality. But there's also a quantity effect. So imagine a few thousand people that have positive intentions. Those positive things start to happen. So the biggest power is actually spiritual power or divine power. The other power is just temporary, and everybody knows it. Anyone who ever had power knows that it's temporary. But spiritual or divine power is inexhaustible. And again, responsibility. Whether a human being can take responsibility for his or her strengths, thoughts, or emotions. And then there's the amount of responsibility. Someone would take responsibility over him or herself, and that's called the egoism. And some would take responsibility over his family members, some over more people. But then there are people who would take responsibility over the whole world. And do you know why? Because we are not divided. We live on the same planet. And there is nowhere to go from this planet. And if this planet is destroyed, where do we go? To Mars? It's nonsense. If most people would start to think about this, just think about this, they would start living differently. It's the only thing it needs. Just take a few minutes a day to do certain practice that would affect their own lives and the lives of people around them. A large number of people and large number of processes that takes place on the planet. You know a funny thing? But they need to reconsider their idea of what they think is truly valuable. You know, what's valuable for most people? The possessions, success, wealth, clothes, jewelry. Don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with this. If you use those possessions as attributes, that's okay. But as soon as people start to be obsessed about possessions, that's where it goes wrong. I'm not talking about whether it's good or bad, it's just a game. But if a person wants to keep it for himself, they need to do something about it. If people understand and take this responsibility for a few minutes a day to do a very pleasant thing to themselves, the world will begin to change. And that's how it works. And this has been hidden from humanity for several millennia. There's a large number of ancient spiritual writings that write very, very specific about this. Several thousand years old. And a funny thing, those who will see it, who will hear it, will just suggest to think about it, about what's really important to you. For now, just pause for a second. What if this pleasant disappear or it is destroyed? Will you need your possessions? What you appreciate so much? It will lose its meaning completely. So in order to protect your possessions, you need to do something. A little bit. And otherwise it will lose its value. We live in an amazing time. This is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Similar situations. Arjuna didn't want to listen to anything, and then he starts trembling and begins to listen and to absorb all the spiritual knowledge in yoga in a very short time. It's strange and may even seem stupid, but people are ready to listen whenever they feel threatened. It's exactly what's happening in the world of today. Huge number of people start to listen and hear things that they didn't want to listen or hear just a few years back. There's an interesting term in medicine. There's the preventive medicine. So what is prevention? A person knows that certain actions can prevent diseases from happening. This is wisdom. But whenever a person says, I don't care, does certain things, and he knows the consequences, the disease that's going to happen, and that starts to treat it, or someone tells him that this disease is not treatable, this is stupid. So most people live on this planet, do the same thing, but we are on the same boat. And if you rock the boat can overturn. So people need to think that this is helping this world at a certain level. Era in which we live now, it's not called Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga ended a few thousand years ago. And in Kali Yuga, the balance between negative and positive, or darkness and light, is shifted towards darkness. But we are not living in that area. We're living in the third era now, and the amount of light is significantly larger. But what we see currently is the opposite, that there's more darkness than light. But this practice that I'm referring to allows the balance to be restored, little by little. Yes, it depends on the number of people who do this at the same time. And I'll just give you an example. It's been a long time ago, maybe 15 years. Don't remember. It was such a poor quality video. There was this large jar, maybe 50, 100 liters, and they dripped a substance called the brilliant green, one drop at a time, once a day. And it took days and days, and it was recorded. And then they played it on the fast forward, on the maximum speed. So the drops were still once a day, but it looked like as if it was dripping very, very fast. And I don't know, maybe in 4, 5, 6 months, all the water turned green. But their amount of this green substance was a lot less than the amount of water. So maybe one drop, nobody sees the effect. 10 drops, 100 drops. But imagine the experimenter took the whole container of this substance and then poured it into water. The water will turn into green immediately. That's what I mean when I say that the balance would be between darkness and light would be restored. There's this phrase that beauty will save the world. This is nonsense. The world will be saved by love because our world consists of love. This is its nature. Do you know what actually holds all those molecules and atoms together? Love. Physicists are talking about it, talking about love. They do not call it God, so they begin calling it implicate order. So there's an explicate order and implicate order. So implicate order creates explicate order. So David Bohm coined this term. That's a cool term. I like how it sounds. So this implicate order is a scientifically proven fact. So this order holds everything together, all matter together with the help of love. And love is not like we describe, I love him, I love you. It's not the feeling that belongs to us. It's a divine feeling. Every time you experience love, it's a deeply spiritual experience. It always remains in the heart, not higher. It's already spiritual. Now imagine for a second, if you're in a state of oneness, on a fundamental level. It doesn't matter whether you imagine it or experience it yourself. You start intending things as if concentrating on love. Imagine that it would increase. It starts to happen. Then that's the only thing that the world needs. And then imagine people who, for some reason, create negativity of some kind because of childhood trauma or something else. We live in the same quantum field. And then whenever there's more love in this field, the world becomes better. You know, there are no bad people on earth. There are unhappy people. When you are happy, you never do anything bad to anyone because it's impossible. You know it yourself. Whenever you're happy, you won't even hurt a mosquito. But when you're unhappy, you can direct this anger at someone or something or an animal. You understand? If there is more love in this world, and again, it's not a metaphor, this is literal, everything starts to change. And many people make negative decisions. It will be difficult for them to make those decisions. It's impossible by nature of things. You understand? That's the secret. And every one of us can participate with his or her intention to increase the amount of love, the intensity of love. If you know that you love someone more than the other and someone that you don't love at all, but there were people that you were in love so much that you kind of lost yourself. Now imagine that someone would experience something like this, would experience that state of love, and that love would increase. And that's the whole secret. Now that people, there's things like devil's idea or Satanism or we live in the satanic world, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let it be like that. But what is devil? Devil is not a person who sits up there and rules the world and thinks how to hurt people. In Latin, the word devil comes from the word to divide. So whenever a person says, that's me and there's me, there's everyone else, that's devil. So devil is in every one of us, and there is a way to get rid of it with this unity. We need to be aware that the divine is in us. As simple as they say, but God is one. It doesn't matter how you call it. That's one consciousness, one energy, no matter how you call it. That's a fact. You just need to become aware of this. Become aware of this oneness and then create the intention that there's as much love as possible. Nothing else is needed. This is why we do this. And whenever a person feels more and more love in his or her life, the environment changes. It ceases to be a practice. It becomes a habit. What you call the practice of oneness is your natural state. We just forgot it from childhood. Every child knows it. We are coming back to our usual natural state again, and we're getting used to it again. That's it. Let me stop talking for a bit and let's move on to something practical. Now, look, duo is a separation. So technically speaking, is what the person considers himself to be. Now there are many things that we call ourselves, but I'll take something that's more simple way. That's a feeling of self, a sense of self. In the East they call it, they had different names, and then I call it a false sense of self. Because when you feel inside your physical body, you think that's you. There's nothing else, but that's not true. Whenever you feel inside of everything, this is how the world is constructed. This is our real perception. And let's play with this. Okay, I'll show you from different angles that looking at it. There is a feeling of yourself that you call me or I. Just do what I say. Say me, I, and put it in your place of a body where it feels the most. And observe that the place that you put your hand to is somewhere between your chest and the top of your head. Or maybe from belly button until the top of your head. This is where they typically feel it. You won't feel it in your shoulder or in your knee or in your heel. Most people feel it in the chest area, some in the stomach. If you think a lot, you will feel it in your head. If your desires are strong, you'll feel it somewhere in your stomach. But most people will feel it somewhere in the chest. So observe this feeling of self. Just observe it. This is just a feeling. It appears and disappears. It's not always there. Now let's do something with this feeling. Take that feeling and then try to direct it to an object. Like pull this feeling and then put this feeling in an object next to you. You know what happens? Is if you start experience this object. All people do this. They're just not aware of it. Your feeling of self goes to another person. For example, when you watch a movie, you empathize with a character. So you feel as if you are that character. And then as soon as you pull that feeling back within your body, you're no longer identified with it. Direct this feeling to several objects, one after another, and then pull it back to yourself, to your body. Just try to experiment in that way. So again, almost all people are capable of doing this, just they're not aware of this. So if you have a pet, direct that feeling of self inside your pet and then observe that feeling. Observe that this feeling of self changes. You can direct this feeling towards a person. You can direct it at the screen. You can direct it at my image, for example, to anything and anyone. But just observe. Whenever you direct your feeling, it changes. This feeling changes. As if you're just a little bit, a tiny little bit, you start empathizing with that. As if you're becoming the object that you direct your feeling to. And now, think about any situation whenever you were in love, present or past. Quickly. Don't forget your feeling of love. Just recall it. Mentally place your feeling of self in that person, the person who you love. And now, pull back that feeling and then put it in the feeling of love itself. Not in the person, but in the feeling of love. Just do it instantly, spontaneously. I know it may seem strange, but you put your sense of self, your feeling of self into that love. Not in the person, and observe what's happening. And now, intuitively and instantly, realize that, before you had this feeling that this love is sort of limited. This only belonged to a person, but love is everywhere. You just grab a little piece of it and direct it into one object. Now realize this love is everywhere and has always been there all the time. Become aware of it instantly and spontaneously. And now realize that absolutely everything, without any exception, consists of that love. That's what actually is. You just need to realize it, to be aware of it through your own experience. Realize that love is everywhere. Love is like a substance that binds everything together so that molecules do not disintegrate. Just become aware of it instantly, intuitively. place your feeling of self or sense of self in this endless love. It's up to you in which way of it. Don't think about it. Instantly, intuitively. Put that feeling of self into that love that is present everywhere. And there is nothing else that exists. You can call it love. You can call it God. Makes no difference at all. And now realize is that love holds everything together. Everything consists of this love. This is one of the fundamental aspects of oneness, because oneness is synonym of love, and love is synonym of unity. Because when you love someone, you become one. So God, whatever you like, becomes God with the help of love. And we are not part of it. We are it. Be aware of that now, instantly, spontaneously, intuitively. And now realizing yourself as oneness. Create the intention that within you as oneness, there will be more love, more kindness, more compassion, even more. Just feel it like it's everywhere. And as if within you and everywhere, intuitively, just feel it. That you intend that it becomes stronger and stronger. And notice that this desire, there's a tendency for desire to grow, that it grows. So kindness, compassion, and love are synonyms. As long as you are in love, you are kindness itself. And now just wish for yourself that this love will grow. And then feel that it grows. Feel that it's happening now, everywhere, with no exception. And let it go. That's all you need to do. It can take you 30 seconds, and then you feel this oneness, and then just feel that there's more love in you. You can do this every hour or half an hour, for half a minute, and that's enough. It will affect you. And those of you who don't like to be in this state of love, and it may not feel comfortably, this masculine type of mind, they don't like that feeling. But those who like that feeling of love, to be in that state of love, you will have that feeling that as if you're in love with yourself. You feel love everywhere. And that's all we need. Thank you. Maybe it seems weird. I talked about responsibility first, and then I end up with love, let it go. The responsibility is that something that you begin with, and then it ends with love. That's how it goes. There's no other way. Thank you very much for your participation. I'm very, very glad to feel it. Not just to see you, but to feel what's happening. Please share it. So many people need this. Just share this. Share it with the link, and there's nothing else you need to do. Those with whom it resonates, their life will change. And then with those who will not resonate, okay, they will suffer for a little while. There's no escape from it. Okay, my friends, thank you a lot for your time, for your love, and for your tears. The tears of love. These are the best tears that exist. The tears of love and tears of gratitude, they are the best tears. And I wish those tears would be the only tears in your life that you would experience. The tears of love and gratitude and nothing else. And may be more love and goodness and less suffering. Will there be like a drop of that brilliant green in that large jar of water? Let it be one by one. The water will change. The color of the water will change. So once again, thank you very much. Keep it up. Do it daily. Once an hour or once every half an hour in your life will change. A lot of things in your life will change. And if you do it synchronously with everyone, it affects the quantum fields and the vibrations will rise. This is scientific fact, so people will begin to change. They won't even understand why without even doing anything. But someone has to do it. And if you do it out of love and gratitude, there's much greater purpose to it. So once again, there's a huge thanks to you. And the same wish. Let your tears be the only tears of love and gratitude. Love you all. See you soon.